The courtroom held its breath as Lena's ex, Victor, claimed their son wanted to live with him. His smug grin said he'd won. But 9-year-old Milo, small and steady, stood up, clutching an old phone. "Can I play a recording?" he asked. In seconds, a secret unraveled, silencing lies and shifting fates. What did Milo capture, and how did it save his mother from losing everything? In the spring of 2024, Fairview, Oregon, bloomed with cherry blossoms, their petals drifting along the Columbia River's edge. The town's quiet charm, brick storefronts, a single diner, a library with cracked steps, hid the tension brewing in its county courthouse, a gray stone relic with tall windows and worn wooden benches. Lena Harper, 34, sat rigid in the courtroom, her dark blonde hair in a loose bun, hazel eyes shadowed by sleepless nights. Her thrift store blazer felt thin against the room's chill. Beside her, her son, Milo, 9, perched on a bench, his brown curls unruly, his sneakers scuffing the floor. His small hands clutched an old smartphone, its cracked screen a hand-me-down from Lena for games and music. Lena faced a custody battle against her ex-husband, Victor Ramsey, 38, a real estate agent whose polished exterior masked a controlling core. Victor stood across the aisle, his navy suit tailored, his green eyes locked on Judge Harlan, a silver-haired man with a weary but sharp gaze. Victor's lawyer, Ms. Caldwell, in a striking red blazer, exuded confidence, her briefcase stuffed with affidavits. Lena's lawyer, Ms. Torres, a pro bono advocate from a women's shelter, scribbled notes beside her, her calm presence a lifeline. Judge Harlan adjusted his glasses. "Mr. Ramsey, you claim your son wishes to live with you, full-time. Is that correct?" Victor's nod was smooth, his smile calculated. "Yes, Your Honor. Milo's told me he's unhappy with his mother's situation. He wants to live with me." Lena's stomach twisted, a wave of nausea rising. She glanced at Milo, whose fingers tightened around the phone, his face pale but composed. He didn't meet her eyes, his silence heavier than fear. Lena longed to pull him close, to shield him from Victor's lies, but Ms. Torres's gentle touch kept her still. The judge turned to Milo, his voice softening. "Son, is that true? Do you want to live with your father?" The courtroom stilled, every rustle of paper amplified. Lena's breath caught, her heart a drumbeat in her chest. Milo stood, his small frame steady despite the weight of a dozen strangers' stares. He reached into his gray jacket, pulled out the phone, and held it up. "May I play a recording from last weekend?" he asked, his voice quiet but unwavering. A collective pause gripped the room. Victor's smile faltered, his eyes narrowing to slits. Lena's pulse surged. She hadn't known about any recording. The judge leaned forward, intrigued. "A recording?" Milo nodded, his curls bobbing. "Yes, sir, from my dad. I recorded it so someone would believe me." The bailiff, a broad-shouldered man with a skeptical frown, stepped forward. Judge Harlan gestured for the phone, and Milo handed it over, adding, "I didn't know what else to do." Lena's mind raced. What had Victor said to Milo? What had her son faced alone? She studied him, seeing not just fear, but a fierce resolve, a 9-year-old standing taller than the room's pressure. The judge held the phone, his expression unreadable, and pressed play. Victor's voice, cold and menacing, sliced through the silence, and Lena's world shifted on its axis. Lena's marriage to Victor had been a slow entrapment. They'd met in Portland in 2010 when Lena was 23, a barista saving for culinary school, her dream of owning a bakery scribbled in notebooks. Victor, 25, was a rising star in real estate, his charm magnetic, his laugh a warm invitation. He'd courted her with coffee dates and promises of a shared future, making her feel seen in a city that often overlooked her. but his attention turned possessive. He dismissed her friends as immature, urging her to focus on us. When she got pregnant with Milo at 24, Victor insisted she quit her job. "Real mothers don't work," he said, his tone final. Lena, young and in love, complied, not seeing the cage forming. Victor's control tightened like a noose. He monitored her phone, demanded receipts for every purchase, and criticized her baking as pointless. He'd scoff at her flour-dusted aprons, saying, "You're not Betty Crocker." If she wore makeup, he accused her of flirting. If she didn't, he called her unkempt. Milo's birth in 2014 gave Lena joy, his giggles a light in the darkness, but Victor's temper loomed. When Milo was 3, he knocked over a vase, and Victor's rage exploded, his shouts shaking the house. Lena stepped in, her voice trembling. "Don't yell at him." Victor's glare was a warning, but she held firm. The breaking point came when Milo was 5. Victor berated him for spilling paint, towering over him as Milo sobbed. Lena intervened, her fear outweighed by fury. "You don't touch him," she said, her voice steel. That night, she packed a bag, took Milo, and drove to her mother, Clara, in Fairview. Clara, 60, a retired nurse with gray-streaked hair and a warm, no-nonsense demeanor, opened her cottage to them. "You're safe here," she said, hugging Lena tight. Lena found work as a library assistant and cleaned houses on weekends, renting a 1-bedroom apartment with creaky floors and a view of the river. It was humble, but Milo's drawings on the walls made it home. Clara became their rock, watching Milo while Lena worked, teaching him to plant tomatoes and sharing stories of her own escape from a controlling marriage in the 1980s. "You're not alone," she told Lena, her eyes kind but fierce. Victor initially agreed to every other weekend visits, acting as if he were granting Lena a favor. Lena rebuilt her life, enrolling in night classes for business, her bakery dream flickering again. Milo thrived, his soccer games and bedtime stories, with Clara filling their days with laughter. 6 months ago, Victor's attitude shifted. He'd landed a promotion, his wealth evident in his new SUV and designer suits. He began showering Milo with gifts, a drone, a PlayStation, items Lena couldn't match. Then came the custody filing, claiming Lena's unstable life. Her part-time jobs, her cramped apartment, was unfit. Worst of all, he alleged Milo wanted to live with him. Lena's heart fractured. Milo loved their life, his school, his friends, their Sunday cookie baking. Had Victor coerced him? The lie felt like a betrayal, but Lena knew Victor's charm could bend truth. The weeks before the hearing were a gauntlet. Milo grew quiet, his sleep disrupted by nightmares. He asked, "Can a judge take me away?" Lena reassured him, but his fear lingered. Clara noticed too, saying, "He's carrying something heavy." Lena asked Milo if Victor had said anything, but he'd only shrug, his eyes distant. She didn't push, fearing she'd scare him more, but her instinct screamed that Victor was manipulating him. The custody battle consumed Lena's life, a storm of legal papers and sleepless nights. Her apartment, once a haven, felt like a fortress under siege, its walls papered with Milo's drawings but echoing with her worry. She juggled her library job, house-cleaning gigs, and business classes, her savings dwindling to pay Ms. Torres's filing fees, even with pro bono support. Ms. Torres, a 40-year-old lawyer with a sharp mind and a warm smile, met Lena weekly at a Fairview coffee shop, reviewing Victor's claims. "He's playing on stereotypes. Single mom, low income," she said, sipping black coffee. "We'll show the court your stability. Milo's grades, your home, your support system." Lena nodded, but Victor's lie, that Milo wanted to live with him, haunted her. Had he pressured Milo? Threatened him? She watched her son closely, noting his growing silence. Milo, once chatty about school and soccer, returned from Victor's visits subdued, his laughter rare. One evening, Lena found him in his room, curled on his bed, tears soaking his pillow. "Is it wrong to not want to see Dad?" he asked, his voice muffled. Lena's chest tightened. "No, Milo. You deserve to feel safe." He looked up, eyes glistening. "What if he gets mad if I say that?" Lena held him, promising protection, but doubt gnawed at her. What had Victor done? Victor's visits became a performance. He'd arrive early, leaning against his SUV, his cologne sharp in the spring air. He'd flash a smile for neighbors, but his whispers to Lena were venomous. "Courts don't pick broke moms over successful dads," he'd say when Milo was out of earshot. Lena ignored him, but his words burrowed deep. Milo clung to her before leaving, once faking a stomachache to stay home. Lena nearly refused Victor's visit, but his cold stare stopped her. "Don't test me," he said, his voice low. Milo went, his backpack heavy, his eyes on the ground. Lena leaned on Clara, who became her confidant. Over tea in Clara's cluttered kitchen, surrounded by potted herbs and old photos, Lena poured out her fears. "What if Victor's turned him against me?" she asked, her voice breaking. Clara, her gray hair in a loose braid, took Lena's hand. "Milo loves you. He's scared, but he's yours, trust him." Clara shared her own story, leaving her ex-husband after years of verbal abuse, raising Lena alone. "You're stronger than I was," she said, "and Milo's stronger than both of us." Fairview's community offered quiet support. Mrs. Ellison, a retired teacher who lived next door, baked Milo cookies, sensing his stress. Mr. Patel, Lena's boss at the library, gave her flexible hours, saying, "Family comes first." Milo's soccer coach, Coach Ruiz, noticed his distraction, pulling Lena aside. "He's not himself after weekends away," he said. "Talk to him." Lena tried, but Milo's answers were vague, his eyes fixed on the old phone he carried, everywhere. The phone, a battered Samsung Lena had replaced a year ago, was Milo's constant companion. She'd given it to him for games, its cracked screen still functional. She'd seen him recording himself, reading books, narrating soccer plays, thinking it was play. One night, she overheard him in his room, whispering into the phone, "I have to be brave." She thought he was mimicking a movie, not rehearsing for a courtroom. The final visit before the hearing was a turning point. Victor arrived on a rainy Saturday, his SUV gleaming, his impatience sharp. Lena watched from her window as he knelt by Milo, gripping his arm, speaking low and fast. Milo's face was blank, his shoulders hunched. When he returned Sunday, he was a shadow, silent, picking at Clara's lasagna, retreating to his room. Lena asked if he was okay. "Just tired," he mumbled, scrolling on the phone. She didn't press, but worry consumed her. That night, Lena sat on her couch, the apartment dark except for a lamp casting shadows on Milo's drawings. She replayed Victor's behavior, Milo's withdrawal. Had Victor threatened him? Coerced him? She had no proof, only a mother's instinct screaming danger. Clara called, sensing Lena's distress. "You can't control Victor, but you can trust Milo," she said. Lena clung to those words, unaware that Milo was already fighting back, in his own way. The morning of the hearing, Milo dressed in a pressed shirt and jacket, slipping the phone into his pocket. "For music," he said when Lena asked. She nodded, her mind on Ms. Torres's strategy. Highlight Lena's stability, counter Victor's wealth. They drove to the courthouse in silence, Lena's hands white-knuckled, Milo staring out the window, the phone in his lap. Fairview's cherry blossoms blurred past, a fleeting beauty against her dread. The courthouse's cold grandeur, marble floors, high ceilings, amplified Lena's nerves. Victor sat with Ms. Caldwell, his smile a polished weapon. Lena felt small beside Ms. Torres, but Milo's presence grounded her. When Victor claimed Milo wanted to live with him, Lena's heart sank, his words a calculated strike. "He doesn't feel safe with his mother," Victor said, his tone rehearsed. Lena's nails dug into her palms, but she stayed silent, trusting Ms. Torres. The judge's question to Milo, "Is that true?" was a blade. Lena braced for his answer, fearing Victor's influence, but Milo's action, pulling out the phone, asking to play a recording, stunned her. The courtroom's silence was deafening as the bailiff took the phone. Victor's face tightened, his charm cracking. Lena's mind raced. What had Milo captured? How had he known to record it? The courtroom was a frozen tableau as Judge Harlan held Milo's phone, his fingers hovering over the play button. Lena's heart thundered, her hand clasped around Milo's, his small fingers steady despite the tension. Victor's recording had yet to play, but its promise hung heavy, a truth ready to shatter lies. Ms. Caldwell whispered urgently to Victor, whose jaw clenched, his eyes darting to the exit. The gallery, neighbors, court staff, a few reporters, leaned forward. Their murmurs hushed. Ms. Torres squeezed Lena's arm, her eyes alight. "This is it," she whispered. Judge Harlan pressed play, and Victor's voice, sharp and menacing, filled the room. "If you don't tell the judge you want to live with me, I'll make sure your mom loses everything. You hear me?" Milo's voice, small but resolute, answered, "I want to stay with Mom." Victor's retort was venomous. "You don't get a choice. Say what I told you, or she's gone." Gasps rippled through the gallery, a collective intake of breath. Lena's eyes stung, tears of rage and pride mixing. Milo, at 9, had faced his father's threats and preserved proof of his cruelty. Victor's lawyer leaned in, her face pale, but Victor stared at the floor, his polished facade crumbling. The judge played the recording again, each word a hammer. "Is that your voice, Mr. Ramsey?" he asked, his tone icy. Victor mumbled, "It sounds like it," his voice barely audible. Ms. Caldwell interjected, "Your Honor, context is needed," but the judge cut her off. "The context is clear. A child was threatened to lie in my courtroom." Lena looked at Milo, who met her gaze, his brown eyes steady. She saw not just courage, but sacrifice. He'd carried this secret to protect her. The judge turned to Lena. "Ms. Harper, has Milo expressed fear of his father before?" Lena's voice was firm despite her trembling. "Yes, Your Honor. He's been anxious after visits, asking if he has to go. He's had nightmares, wondering if truth matters." She paused, glancing at Milo. "He's been scared, but he's strong." The judge addressed Milo, his voice warm. "Young man, what you did took incredible courage. This court hears you, and I'm proud of you." Milo nodded, a faint smile breaking through, his curls catching the light. The judge called a 15-minute recess, his gavel a sharp crack. As the room stirred, Lena pulled Milo into a hug, her voice breaking. "You recorded that?" Milo nodded against her shoulder. "He was scary in the car. I pressed record. I thought it'd help." Clara approached, her gray braid swinging, her eyes wet. "You raised a hero, Lena," she said, kneeling, to hug Milo. Mrs. Ellison, the neighbor, waved from the gallery, her face beaming. Victor remained seated, his lawyer packing files, his confidence drained. Lena felt a seismic shift, not just relief, but empowerment. Milo's recording had exposed Victor's manipulation, giving Lena's truth a voice she'd struggled to amplify alone. In the hallway, Lena and Milo sat on a bench, sharing Clara's granola bar. "How did you know to record him?" Lena asked, her voice soft. Milo shrugged, picking at the wrapper. He said stuff before, about you not being good. Enough. That day he was really mad. I just hit record. Lena's throat tightened. Her son had seen through Victor's charm, acting when she couldn't. She hugged him again, whispering, "You're my hero." The weeks before the hearing had been a crucible. Victor's custody push began 6 months earlier, after his promotion inflated his ego. He'd painted Lena as unfit, citing her low-income jobs and shabby apartment. Lena countered with evidence. Milo's report cards, filled with A's, photos of their apartment, cozy with books and blankets, letters from Clara, Mrs. Ellison, and Coach Ruiz praising her care. But Victor's claim that Milo wanted to live with him was a gut punch. Lena had asked Milo gently, but he'd only shaken his head, his silence a wall. Milo's behavior had shifted subtly. He'd played with the phone obsessively, recording random moments, his cat purring, a soccer game. Lena thought it was a quirk, not strategy. Once, she'd found him practicing a speech, saying, "I need to be brave." She'd smiled, unaware he was preparing for court. Coach Ruiz had pulled her aside after practice, saying, "Milo's distracted. Something's off." Lena had tried talking, but Milo's answers were short, his eyes on the phone. When court resumed, Judge Harlan's demeanor was resolute. "The recording is authentic," he said. "Mr. Ramsey, your actions disqualify you as a custodial parent." He denied Victor's custody request, suspended visitation pending a psychological evaluation and parenting classes, and affirmed Lena's full custody. "Ms. Harper has provided a stable, loving home," he said. "This ruling is final." Victor slumped, his lawyer silent. Lena exhaled, years of fear dissolving. The judge spoke to Milo. "You helped this court find the truth." "That's a big deal." Milo smiled, clutching Lena's hand. The gavel fell, and Lena cupped Milo's face. "You were incredible," she said, tears falling. "I'm so proud." Milo's voice was soft. "I wanted us to stay together." Lena held him, the courthouse's cold walls fading, her heart swelling with his strength. Leaving the courthouse, Lena, Milo, and Clara stepped into Fairview's spring sunlight, cherry blossoms swirling like confetti. Milo's face lit up, the courtroom's weight gone. He skipped ahead, then spun back. "Ice cream?" he asked, grinning. Lena laughed, a sound she'd missed. "Double scoops, chocolate swirl." Clara squeezed her shoulder, her eyes bright. "You both deserve it." At home, Clara's vegetable stew simmered, its aroma wrapping the apartment in warmth. Milo devoured 2 bowls, chattering about a new Spider-Man comic. Lena watched, marveling at his return to the boy she knew. Loud, curious, unburdened. Their apartment, with its mismatched furniture and Milo's crayon art, felt like a castle. That night, Lena tucked Milo into bed, his superhero blanket snug. "Am I in trouble for recording Dad?" he asked, his eyes searching. Lena shook her head. "No, baby. You told the truth, and that's always right." He paused. "Will he be mad?" Lena brushed his curls. "He might be, but what he did was wrong. You were brave, and that's what counts." Milo nodded, drifting off as Lena lingered, memorizing his piece. The weeks after the hearing were a rebirth. Victor's lawyer called once, proposing a meeting, but Lena referred them to the court order and hung up, her fear replaced by resolve. Milo's laughter returned, his bike zipping through Fairview's park, his voice bubbling with stories about school. He asked for pancakes on Sundays, sneaking whipped cream, his mischief a sign of healing. Lena resumed her business classes, her bakery dream sharper, fueled by Milo's courage. She sketched logos on napkins, Milo suggesting a cupcake with a superhero cape, Fairview rallied around them. Mrs. Ellison baked Milo's favorite oatmeal cookies, slipping him a note. "You're braver than Superman." Mr. Patel gave Lena a raise at the library, saying, "Your family." Coach Ruiz organized a soccer team pizza party, toasting Milo's champion spirit. Clara hosted a welcome home dinner, Milo's teammates filling the cottage with noise. One boy, Javier, gave Milo a high five, saying, "You're like a detective." Milo grinned, his confidence blooming. Lena joined a support group for single mothers, sharing their story at a community center. "Kids see more than we think," she said, her voice steady. "Milo taught me to trust his strength." Other women nodded, some tearful, inspired to advocate for their own children. Lena's words spread, a local blogger writing about Fairview's brave boy, prompting calls from news outlets. Lena declined interviews, wanting privacy, but the story took root, Fairview's pride in Milo growing. Milo's school became a haven. His teacher, Ms. Larson, praised his resilience, saying, "He's a leader." She assigned a project on heroes, and Milo wrote about Lena, reading it aloud. "My mom fights for me every day. She's my hero." Lena, invited to the presentation, cried quietly in the back, Clara squeezing her hand. Milo's classmates cheered, and Ms. Larson hugged him, saying, "You're a hero too." Lena began journaling, filling pages with gratitude. "Milo didn't just save us, he showed me my strength. I'm not broken, not helpless." The recording, locked in a drawer, was a symbol of Milo's bravery, a reminder that truth could triumph. Victor faded from their lives, his visitation rights still suspended. Lena focused on Milo, his soccer, goals, his science fair volcano, his giggles during movie nights with Clara. "You're unstoppable," Clara told her. "But Milo's the spark." One evening, Milo announced, "I want to be a detective." Lena laughed. "You'd be the best. You already cracked a big case." He beamed, saying, "Detectives find the truth, right?" Lena hugged him. "The best ones do, just like you." The courthouse moment, Milo's voice saying, "May I play a recording?" became their touchstone, proof that a child's courage could shift the world. Lena rediscovered her own voice, her dreams no longer deferred, her heart full of Milo's light. By late 2024, Fairview buzzed with Milo's story, the brave boy with the phone, becoming a local legend. A Fairview Gazette feature, titled, "A Child's Truth Wins in Court," detailed the hearing, quoting Judge Harlan. "Milo Harper's courage is a lesson for us all." Lena, reluctant but proud, allowed a photo of her and Milo at the park, his soccer ball under his arm, her smile radiant. The article sparked community pride, with businesses displaying "Support Milo" signs, their windows adorned with paper hearts. Lena's bakery dream took shape. She leased a small storefront on Main Street, a former flower shop with peeling paint but big windows. Milo helped paint the walls a soft yellow, suggesting the name Milo's Sweet Truth, and sketching a logo, a cupcake with a superhero, cape. Lena enrolled in a small business course, her nights filled with budgets and recipes. Clara pitched in, testing muffin recipes, while Mrs. Ellison offered her grandmother's scone formula. "This town's behind you," she said, dropping off a tin of baked goods. Milo thrived at school, his confidence soaring. Ms. Larson's hero project had made him a quiet leader, classmates seeking his advice on everything from math to kickball. He joined a junior detective club, led by Coach Ruiz, solving mysteries like missing library books. At home, he recorded mock detective stories on the old phone, narrating with a serious tone. Lena listened, amazed at his resilience, but noticed fleeting moments of worry, glances at the door, questions about Victor. "Will he come back?" he asked once. Lena hugged him. "Not without the court's say-so. We're safe. Victor's our..." Shadow lingered faintly. His lawyer filed an appeal, claiming the recording was misinterpreted, but Judge Harlan dismissed it, citing overwhelming evidence of coercion. Ms. Torres assured Lena the court's ruling was ironclad, but advised vigilance. Lena installed a security camera at the apartment, more for Milo's peace than her own. Clara, ever practical, said, "He's lost his power. Focus on what's ahead." Lena's support group grew, her story inspiring other single mothers. At a community center meeting, she met Sarah, a young mom escaping an abusive partner. Lena shared tips on legal aid and emotional resilience, saying, "Your kids will carry you forward." Sarah's toddler, clinging to her leg, reminded Lena of Milo at 3, fueling her resolve to help. She started a weekly coffee meetup, Moms Rising, where women swapped stories and resources, Fairview's library donating space. The community's embrace deepened. Mr. Patel organized a library fundraiser for Lena's bakery, with Milo reading a poem about courage to a cheering crowd. Coach Ruiz launched a soccer scholarship in Milo's name, funded by local businesses, to support kids in need. Mrs. Ellison rallied neighbors to knit blankets for a women's shelter, inspired by Lena's escape from Victor. "You and Milo lit a fire," she told Lena, her eyes twinkling. Milo's detective club became a passion, his cases earning him a nickname, Sherlock Milo. At a club showcase, he presented a solved mystery, finding a lost class pet, dedicating it to Lena. "My mom taught me to never give up," he said, the audience applauding. Lena, in the front row with Clara, wiped tears, her pride overwhelming. But Milo's nightmares persisted, waking him once with a cry. Lena sat with him, soothing him. "I dreamed Dad took you," he whispered. Lena held him. "No one's taking me. You made sure of that." A community event in December cemented Milo's impact. Fairview's Winter Festival, held in the park, featured a Courage Award for Milo, presented by Mayor Lopez. Milo, in a new jacket, spoke briefly. "Truth matters, even if you're little." The crowd roared, Lena and Clara beaming. Lena donated cupcakes from her bakery in progress, their superhero logo a hit. The event raised funds for the women's shelter, with Lena vowing to make it annual. As snow fell, Milo whispered, "This is the best day." Lena hugged him, knowing their fight had sparked something bigger. In spring 2025, Milo's Sweet Truth opened its doors, Fairview's newest gem. The bakery's yellow walls glowed under string lights, its glass case filled with cupcakes, scones, and Milo's favorite chocolate chip cookies. Opening day was a town event, with a line out the door, Mayor Lopez cutting a ribbon, and Milo handing out free samples, his grin wide. Lena, in a flour-dusted apron, hugged Clara, who'd baked half the inventory. "You did it," Clara said, her voice thick. Lena nodded, her dream real, Milo's courage its foundation. Milo, now 10, flourished. He excelled in school, his detective club a highlight. He led a case to find a stolen bike, earning a school award. Lena volunteered with the club, marveling at his logic. At home, they baked together, Milo perfecting a cookie recipe he called Truth Bites. His nightmares faded, replaced by dreams of being a detective or baker. "Maybe both," he told Lena, laughing. She ruffled his curls, her heart full. A skeptical social worker, Ms. Grant, reviewed Lena's case after Victor's appeal attempt, ensuring Milo's safety. Initially doubtful, citing Lena's non-traditional path, Ms. Grant visited the bakery and Milo's school, interviewing Ms. Larson and Coach Ruiz. Milo's poise and Lena's stability won her over. "You've built something remarkable," she wrote in her report, closing the case. Lena exhaled, the last shadow of Victor gone. Fairview's annual festival in June was a triumph. Lena's bakery sponsored a booth, Milo's superhero cupcakes, selling out. He read a poem, Truth's Light, about courage, earning a standing ovation. Clara, Mrs. Ellison, and Coach Ruiz cheered loudest, Fairview's pride palpable. Lena, watching Milo shine, realized their story had reshaped the town, fostering unity and resilience. A local journalist, initially cynical, attended Lena's support, grouped to debunk the hype, but left inspired, writing a viral feature. Fairview's mother and son redefine courage. It drew letters from across Oregon, one from a teen girl. Milo's story made me tell my truth. Thank you. Lena framed it beside Milo's drawings, a testament to their impact. At home, Lena and Milo baked cookies, their laughter filling the apartment. Truth always wins, Milo said, licking frosting off his finger. Lena nodded, quoting their motto. They sat by the window, Fairview's river sparkling below, their bond unbreakable. The courthouse moment, Milo's "May I play a recording?" was their cornerstone, proof that a child's voice could change everything. Milo's 9-year-old courage proved truth can outshine lies, even in the darkest moments. Has a child's bravery ever inspired you, or have you fought for your voice to be heard? Share your story in the comments or type "truth" if you believe honesty changes everything. Subscribe for more stories of resilience and love, and support our channel to keep these powerful tales alive.